12 hours later, Brian and Andrew connect for a simple conference call.
Yeah. I mean, that is the struggle, right, of this world now, is everything is done this way. And it's just like, sometimes people's internet go down or whatever. I mean, that happened to me the other day. I spent the entire day putting together this little piece on it was a day in the life of working on the PGH Museums project. And
I saw it.
yeah, did you like it?
I watched the whole thing. Yeah, your running form could use some work. If you want Shep or somebody to kind of show you how to run up the old hill, I'll get that. I'll get him to take a look at your running form. But yeah, no, it was a good video.
Yeah, that'd probably be good. I'm trying to get myself into shape this year. I've got the
well, you got to cut out the banana milkshakes, man. It's too many.
I don't know if I can handle that though. I mean, that's what's good. I put down the alcohol and picked up the milkshake.
I'm just joking you, man.
Hi, my name's Brian Crawford with pghmuseums.org, and over the next several weeks, I'll be talking with artists, museum directors, and even the general manager of a professional sports team. Due to the COVID-19 coronavirus, we'll be practicing social distancing and speaking over video, and talking about how the virus is affecting the people who make our culture community work. We'll be discussing how it's affecting their lives, how they're staying creative, overcoming challenges, and how they plan to bounce back when we can all leave our homes again. Please join me for COVID Conversations.
We are with Andrew Gardner, General Manager of the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds, and seriously, that video, I went to upload it, and my power went out. All of the internet, everything in the middle of exporting it, and I was so excited to share it with people. I wanted to pre-share it because it's the first time I've done a video in that style, and that's kind of the style that I'm hoping to move towards in the future. And and I had to wait an extra day. It was like, it's kind of like a kid on Christmas. If you're excited to open your presents and then you get the memo that Christmas was moved to the next day.
It was a style of authenticity. I think that's why the video went over so well, is because it didn't look like you edited the crap out of it. This is truly my, a day in the life of Brian Crawford. So I think that's why it went over so well.
Meanwhile, I did edit the crap out of it, and I was up to it.
Well, you did, but you didn't say a line and go, oh, that didn't really sound right. And then you rehearsed the line, and it didn't feel like you had a script, right? Like you had it all planned out, but yeah, you just were unfiltered, very authentic video. I think that's it went over well. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm glad. And that's what we're working towards, trying to get out some new content. You guys have been doing a great job with the Thunderbirds in terms of getting content out in a time when the season's on hold and everything's up in question. And that's got to be very, very frustrating for you after all of the work you've put in. And you had some really interesting and awesome things lined up for this year that's on hold now because of this entire shutdown.
Yeah, specifically our partnership with Pro Bike and Run, but I actually have a conference call with them soon. They're still excited to do something, even during the shutdown. I think what the AUDL is doing, which is really exciting, is they're hammering social media hard, and they've seen a 225% increase in social media engagement over this time period. And we're talking 6.2 million impressions or some crazy number like that. So we're actually seeing more people interact with our posts now that people have nothing better to do but to be on their computers or their electronic devices. And these people crave entertainment and sports. So we should be hitting social media, as much as we possibly can during these days, because people want it. People demand it.
Yeah, and I keep saying this with different artists. I think it's especially true for the AUDL and the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds and maybe sports that aren't what everyone always thinks of as mainstream. I feel like this is maybe an opportunity for them to kind of cut into that conversation a little bit, because people, they don't want to watch necessarily old games that they've already experienced. They're looking to experience new things, and this is an opportunity for you guys to provide that content, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, it's what better excuse than to show highlights of our 2015 victory nail bite over the Chicago Wildfire, right? We don't really have an ESPN Classic or an AUDL Classics television station, right? So like you really can like hit on nostalgia, which I think is super popular with our demo too. Nostalgia is always fun to go back and look at. So just coming up with creative ideas, getting highlights out there, showing interest pieces of the stories. What are the players doing during this lockout? How did they stay in shape? Like this is all interesting to our fans. It's interesting to me. And it's like, if you post it, people are going to interact with it. They're going to share it and you're going to stay relevant. Because if you're not posting, you're not really staying relevant, and people are going to forget about you when things do come back to normal.
Yeah, and one thing that you've been doing, a lot of the different players have been taking control of the account and posting their own videos and doing things. And I think it kind of shows some of the personality of the players, which I think will bring in an interest from people on the outside as well, which I think is a great idea. It's very cool.
Yeah, you just got to make sure that you give it to the right person. I know I can think of a few players in the past who might take some extra liberties.
Yeah, we experienced that one time. I think it was you and I having a conversation, and someone mooned us in the background.
Yeah. You'll have that. Yeah. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. Practice, yeah. That's right.
Yeah. You never know. But there's an opportunity to get new people. But has it been like personally frustrating for you to like put all of this together and then have to wait? I mean, I know it's something
of course.
With nobody wants to sound like they're whining, but I mean, I think we're all allowed to whine a little bit, right? I mean,
we're definitely disappointed. The guys put in a lot of work. They specifically work out to peak at a specific time, and use April as a jumping off point. So for us to even have a practice, we had one practice, and then for everything to kind of get shut down, we made the decision that it's for our safety of our players, not our fans yet, but we should not be, going out and congregating with 25 guys all touching the same Frisbee, in a tight and closed space. It's disappointing because you want to see your hard work pay off. And the payoff in sports is when you get to go on the field and you see a result. And even from a general managerial standpoint, we had a lot of sponsors lined up, and I was ready to deliver for my sponsors, and to not be able to deliver for them. Yeah, it's severely disappointing, but we know that everybody's in the same boat. All other 20 AAU teams are in that same boat. All the MLB teams, NHL, NBA, we're all suffering through it. And you just got to, hold your ground, keep your head held high, and figure out what's next.
And you guys just had a really great season last year, and you're in this new division this year. So there was a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of energy going into this season. How do you carry that over after this law?
Well, I think that the divisional change almost did it for us, right? Like, talk about a golden goose on my lap, because it's just, hey, how does playing Atlanta and Tampa Bay and Raleigh, and now we have this rivalry with Philadelphia, who we would, drub the Keystone State rivalry, or they're the Phoenix, so it's the Battle of the Birds, right? Like, that's just very sexy in general. And it's an easier sell because the guys, you kind of get tired playing the same old opponents over and over. And we started to develop a rivalry with Indianapolis and Madison, but people like fresh, they like new. So I think that the teams alone kind of sold themselves. Some of the game op things that we started to do, like I said, our promotion with Pro Bike and Run, we really felt was going to take that momentum that we got from last year, where we turned a 4-10 team into a Midwest Championship Finals team, and take that and say, hey, listen, this is something that is fun to watch. Like, you want to have a party off the field, but you want to be a really good product on the field too. That's super important. And we just feel like we have both. And so whenever we open our doors back up, whether it be this year or whether it be next year, like, we're ready to go. We've got the guys, we have the core, which is super important, because your outside guys, they all have full-time jobs. So one guy might become a doctor and has to move to Austin. You're not going to blame him. But, our core group of guys who are born and bred, they bleed black and gold, like Jimmy Toll and Sam Van Dusen and Max Shepard, like, those guys are going to be here, and they're going to keep that excitement, and they're not going to let, our mission and vision drift from what we're trying to make the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds.
The Thunderbirds will be back either this year or next year, and the museums will be back open soon. Let's hear from one of them. We'll be back with Andrew Gardner in just a minute.
It's a wonderful museum in Indiana, PA. The Jimmy Stewart Museum introduces you to the life of war hero, family man, and actor Jimmy Stewart, famously known for films like It's a Wonderful Life and Harvey. In addition to the impressive display of original movie posters and awards, the Jimmy Stewart Museum introduces you to the icon on a personal level, with relics of his upbringing with the J.M. Stewart hardware store to his military desk as a brigadier general, Boy Scout awards in a recreated bedroom, and much more. The museum even has a 1930s vintage movie theater to view old Jimmy Stewart films. Janie McCurgan, the museum's executive director, was never fortunate enough to meet Jimmy in person, but she's poured through the documents and set up the exhibitions. Does she feel like she knows him now?
I do. After diving into all these displays and the archives and reading multiple stories about him in books, I really feel like I know the man. He was who he was when you saw him. He was a simple, everyday man who was so kind. And his advice to his daughters going off to college was just be nice to people. That's all he told them. So he was just a really down-to-earth, humble, kind man.
Get your chance to meet Jimmy yourself with an impressive collection that spans his life at the Jimmy Stewart Museum, just upstairs of the Indiana Public Library in downtown Indiana, Pennsylvania. Learn more at jimmy.org.
We're back with Andrew Gardner, the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds general manager. We were just talking about the season coming back, hopefully a late start this year, worst case scenario next year. What do you do from a manager's standpoint? One thing you could do is just play up on the fact that people have had nothing to do and they've been sitting inside forever. Easy sell right here. But what do you do anything different in terms of just the operations of the game? I know you guys do a lot of activities and things like that for the audience. Is there anything that you're going to do special that you think to try to bring people to the game or just get them energized?
Yeah, this is probably the hardest question you've ever asked me, because I really don't have an answer for you, namely just because this virus, we're taking it, like, it almost feels like we're taking it hour by hour. So I almost feel like it is premature for us to think, like, how are we going to get fans in our stands when we don't even know when we're going to be able to play games? Because really that shouldn't be our priority. Our priority should be keeping our fans and players' health and safety at the top of our priority list. So I think we shouldn't rush this. I know that we're even contemplating potentially playing games without fans first, and seeing what that might look like. So we really don't have I really haven't given it a ton of thought or a definitive thought of how we want to draw back in fans and say, hey, let's pack 300 to 400 people shoulder to shoulder and cheer on the Thunderbirds. Like, I just don't know if that's the right message that we want to be delivering right now. And I just haven't given it, honestly, a ton of thought. Now, I think once this, blows over, the curve has been flattened, we have a vaccine, the doctors and these amazing medical professionals come out and say it's safe to come out in public, then I think our product is going to speak for itself. The game day experience that we're going to put on, all of our sponsors are going to come in. A lot of that stuff is going to drive back what we had last year. And I think that we're just going to ride that wave, ride that momentum. But for right now, like, better than anybody, it's just we're just in a kind of like a holding pattern right now.
Yeah, and it's kind of a scary situation because not only are we in this holding pattern right now, but there are talks that there could be waves of shutdowns. So maybe everything comes back to business, and then all of a sudden it spikes up again, and we have to shut down again. It's just really difficult to prepare for something like this.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up too, because I think that is one thing that the league is very cognizant of. What's the perception, or how do we feel if we start this thing back up, we play 3 games and we have to shut it back all down again? So we're really looking at this from a health and safety concern from our players and fans. That's first and foremost. We want to get the games in because we want to make sure that our sport is remains legitimate. And it's out there for people to consume, but it's not going to come at the expense of our players and fan safety.
So right now, UPMC is working on, they say they may have a vaccine, and let's hope that's true. But do you think that could be like a good omen for the city of Pittsburgh if UPMC comes out with a vaccine? It's like, we did it. Maybe all the teams will rise up, and it'll just be like the year of Pittsburgh. We come up with a vaccine, we get some championships. This could be
Sure. Well,
a good slide, right? Just everything kind of happens.
Sure. Shout out to our sponsors, Allegheny Health Network. We love you. But hey, if UPMC comes out with a vaccine, that's great, right? I think AHN would be happy about that too. We're just excited to get someone to come out and just help
well,
the
I will
people.
say I go to Allegheny Health Network. That is actually who I use, and I'm sure they'll be happy to administer the vaccine. UPMC. So yeah, you're right. I think
absolutely. No, it does. It makes no difference, right? Like medical professionals for HN, medical professionals for UPMC. Like we work with both. Obviously AHN has been tremendous partners for us. This past year, moving into this year, they've been big supporters. But it's all the medical professionals on the front lines right now, just putting their necks out. It's insane. Like we have the luxury. Some of us have the luxury of working from home. I know. You don't always get to work from home yourself. But people working with directly with people who have COVID, it's really tremendous. Some of the abilities these heroes really have.
Well, what is mind-blowing to me is just the conditions that some of them are working in. For example, like where I work, we have gloves and masks, but they're not the type that you would use for that situation. But I mean, we don't need those masks. But
right.
They're short equipment, and in a lot of cases, they're being told to reuse masks. I saw one news report where the woman was literally in a trash bag because they don't have the right hazmat equipment for her, so she had to cut a hole through a trash bag to put over her head, and that's personal safety equipment at work in a hospital treating people with the COVID-19 virus. It's crazy.
It's something out of a movie.
Yeah, it really is. So you personally, Andrew, how have you been dealing with the whole situation? I mean, I know you've been able to work from home, correct? So that's
good. Yeah. So I have a rigid 9 to 5 for now. It's not so much rigid when we're actually in the office, but working with the Pittsburgh Penguins, it's waking up. We're right now in the process of contacting all of our season ticket holders. And I think it's a really cool thing that the Penguins are doing, checking up on all of them. And I'm fortunate to be involved with that organization because I know that a lot of other sports teams either aren't paying their employees or they're furloughing people. And the Penguins have really stuck by us as new business representatives to go out and outreach. So 9 to 5 doing that. Obviously, they allow us to take breaks. So I'm always doing some Thunderbird stuff on the side after 5 o'clock. Jumping on with you, doing an interview, still talking with Pro Bike and Run, making sure my players are still working out, and they always do because they're active guys and they're born to do this type of thing. And but right now it's slow. It really is slow. I think I'm used to working from home, but not like this. This is a different time that we're living in, and I think everyone can get. When you work from home, you can become bored. So you really need to self-motivate yourself in these types of situations, and it's difficult. So I feel for everybody, and if anybody needs to reach out, please don't hesitate to.
So working with the Penguins, it's interesting you brought that up. Does that give you kind of any ideas with the Thunderbirds? Because I know, just like myself, working with other video creators and other content creators, I love to see what they're doing, not necessarily that they're doing things better or worse than me, but just different perspectives I'm able to then incorporate into my own abilities and in my own knowledge base, and I'm able to grow that way. Have you been able to pick up on anything working with the Penguins that has given you ideas with the Thunderbirds?
I feel like I couldn't have picked a better organization to work for, right? Like the Pittsburgh Penguins are just like the epitome of class of the NHL. Everything they do is it oozes with class. And one of the things that they recently did was they just made it an emphasis to make touch points with every single stakeholder within the organization: vendors, sponsors, clients, season ticket holders, previous game purchasers, right? So you sort of think that it's common sense, but sometimes you don't think about personalizing a note and what that does, and especially in a time like this. So for us to sit down and make sure that we're constantly communicating with the players, and we're doing touch points with sponsors and saying, hey, we didn't forget about you, we didn't just take your money and run. That's super important. And these are like the little things that the Penguins do right that make them such a good organization. You don't just become a great organization overnight. it happens with time and repetition and through anecdotal stories of you treating other people right. The golden rule that your mother always told you. What's the golden rule? Treat others as you'd like to be treated, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So if you had one piece of advice you'd like to, or one message of hope you'd like to share with just the people out there that on something you've been doing to help yourself throughout this whole stay-at-home order, what message would you want to send to people?
I just find your routine, find the thing that makes you happy. If you wake up and you have a routine and you feel like garbage afterwards, change up your routine. Like that routine's just not for you. Like I know I've been fortunate with my organization, but they really encourage taking more than an hour for lunch if you need it, right? Like work on your mental health. And I know that that's like very cliche to say, but it's really true. Like you really need to work on your mental health. For Brian, it might be doing a third banana smoothie. Like if that's what makes Brian happy, Brian, you drink that third banana smoothie and you'll let anyone tell you otherwise. And it's like, I sort of kid, but I don't, you know what I mean? So I've found a routine that has given me joy. The way the phone calls that I make, the people that I talk to, I like to get out and run right around 5:45 when the day is over. That just calms me down. Spotify on Monday comes out with a new playlist and I get to my 30 new songs. Like find your groove and just keep trucking. We're all in this and this will be over, it'll be over soon because we got some really cool people in this world and they're going to fix this thing for us.
Step back in time to see history through the lens of a camera with 2,000 cameras on display at the Photo Antiquities Museum of Photographic History. Historic photographs of the Civil War, Native Americans, the World Wars, lantern slides, spirit photographs, stereo views, and more are available at the Photo Antiquities Museum of Photographic History. The Photo Antiquities Museum also has a special collection of rare photos of Pittsburgh's shantytown, a makeshift poor Pittsburgh neighborhood built during the Great Depression. Throughout it all, I noticed in every picture, no one seemed to be smiling. So I asked museum founder Bruce Klein why.
Yes, so nobody smiles because the exposure time was 30 minutes. And that's why everybody looks real stiff, because you can't hold a smile for 30 minutes. In addition to that, they usually had neck braces behind their head to keep their head in place. Because, again, 30 minutes, you would move your head side to side, your photo would be blurry.
Can Bruce smile for 30 minutes?
No, I don't think I could do that for more than 4 or 5 minutes, I'm sure.
Explore the nation's only 19th century photography museum, including everything from the first photograph in 1821 all the way to digital, right on Pittsburgh's north side at the Photo Antiquities Museum of Photographic History. Learn more at photoantiquities.org. Thank you for listening to COVID Conversations, a special series for PGH Museums, produced and edited by me, Brian Crawford. Support PGH Museums by joining our membership program at pghmuseums.org/join. Our music is Energy 2013 by Sasha Endy and can be found at filmmusic.io and licensed under the Creative Commons. Let us know how you're keeping your spark in these trying times. Email me at brian@pghmuseums.org. Stay safe, keep your distance, and keep creating.